In Splatoon 3, you can have various abilities on your gear. Those abilities do different things depending on the ones you chose. You have a slot for a strong primary ability and 3 slots for secondary abilities on every piece of gear, so you have ample space to build something unique to you and your playstyle. Most of those abilities can be both mains and subs, the only difference being how much of an effect they have, but certain abilities are primary exclusives with no option to have them as subs. Those exclusive abilities are either completely new abilities you couldn't get from the other options, or they combine pre-existing ones with some kind of gimmick to give them a unique twist. Unfortunately though, the game is often really bad at fully explaining what those abilities actually do, so in this video I will go over all the exclusive primary abilities and I will explain what they do, how they work, and how they're typically used. Let's start off with abilities that are exclusive to Headgear, because yes, not only are they primary only, but you can only have them on a certain type of gear. Our first one here is Opening Gambit that I'm sure you've heard a lot about after it got buffed a few months back. It gives you 30 ability points of swim speed, run speed, ink resistance, and intensify action. Quick reminder, one main is worth 10 ability points or AP, and one sub is worth 3 AP. So Opening Gambit gives you the equivalent of running 3 mains of each of those abilities, which is just insane. The downside though is that you can only have it for the first 30 seconds of battle, and you get 15 extra seconds per assist or kill. Because of that, it's pretty hard to keep it the whole game if you don't have flawless openings. But it could be worth running if you play solo and get a lot of kills and assists, especially in those first few seconds. I don't usually run Opening Gambit myself, but it is one of the most fun abilities in the game. The movement and accuracy is just so satisfying. Then we have a very popular ability, Last Ditch Effort. The game explains LDE really badly, so here's what it does. It gives you 18 AP of Ink Recovery, Ink Saver Main, and Ink Saver Sub under specific conditions. In Turf War, the effects start when there's 30 seconds left, and in ranked modes, it starts when the enemy scores over 50 points and you unlock the full ability when their score is over 70. Now LDE is very popular with a lot of weapons, but mostly frontlines and midlines who aren't very ink efficient or who like to spam bombs. But recently this ability got nerfed and it's not used as much anymore. It used to give you 24 AP, but now it's down to 18. Still a good ability, but people are more likely to consider other options now. Next up is a less popular ability, Tenacity. This ability gives you extra points for special when you're at a numbers disadvantage. So if you have 3 players up while the opposing team has all 4, you'll get your special faster than you normally would. The more disadvantaged you are, the more points you get. And in theory, this is good. However, this ability only works if you're at a numbers disadvantage. It doesn't do anything if it's equal or if opponents are down. And since respawns are so temporary, especially with QR in the game, you'd probably be better off running Special Charge Up or Special Saver because at least those are always active. But of course, run whatever you want, I'm just stating my opinion here. If you're a hardcore Tenacity fan, then I'm not gonna stop you from using it. And our last primary only ability for Headgear is my personal favorite, Comeback. This ability gives you 10 AP of Ink Saver Main, Ink Saver Sub, Ink Recovery, Swim Speed, Run Speed, and Special Charge Up for 20 seconds every time you respawn after getting splatted by another player. By the way, I checked and it does not work if you die in the water. Comeback is often used by QR weapons for the synergy it has with that ability, and also frontline and midline weapons. This ability has gotten more popular recently after the LDE nerf. I switched to it a few months before that and I personally find it much more useful on the dually squelchers. It works really well with QR and the extra movement and ink efficiency is always nice. Now let's move on to exclusive mains for clothing. Our first here is probably the most popular ability for clothes, Ninja Squid. This one makes you more stealthy when you swim by removing the ink splashes that are usually quite visible. Now it doesn't completely hide you, there's still a trail when you swim, but it's much harder to see. Some people have gotten really good at seeing those trails, but it's still a useful ability for frontline weapons. The only downside is that it slows you down, so people sometimes counter that by also running some swim speed along with Ninja Squid. Then we have Respawn Punisher. This is a very popular ability for backlines. It punishes opponents when you splat them, meaning that not only are their respawn time considerably longer, even if they're running QR, but it also decreases the special charge they have left after getting splatted. However, it punishes the person using the ability harder than the people that get splatted by them, so that's why backlines use it since they die less than most other weapons, but I've also seen very brave frontlines using it. Then we have Thermal Ink. This ability reveals an opponent's location for about 16 seconds when you hit them. This means that a white silhouette will show up and reveal their location, but only in human form, and they need to have been hit by a direct shot from your main weapon. So this ability doesn't work with machine or blaster indirects. And I think that's a pretty common misconception. I only see blasters running this ability, so I assumed it worked with indirects, but I found out that's not the case while researching for this video. But this next ability is really interesting, Haunt. It's a strange mix of the previous two abilities. Haunt lets you track the last player who splatted you until they themselves get splatted. They show up as a white silhouette, and this ability has a hidden feature that not many people know about. It actually gives Respawn Punisher effects to a haunted opponent if you kill them. So if you get splatted by someone and you kill them while you're still haunting them, you give them Respawn Punisher without it affecting you like it normally does with that ability, which is a massive reason as to why some people choose to run Haunt, and I don't know why the game decided to leave that out of the description. And finally, for clothing, Ability Doubler. This is the ability that you have to wear against your will during Splatfest. It does pretty much what the description says, it just doubles your secondary abilities. So they do 6 AP instead of the usual 3. Not very interesting, but it's there. And finally, we have the shoe abilities. There are surprisingly few abilities here compared to the other gear types. Our first here might be the most popular primary only ability in the whole game, Stealth Jump. This ability makes it so that opponents can't see your super jump marker when you jump to a teammate. The marker does gradually become more visible the closer an opponent gets to it, but to be honest, they have to get really close to see it. So if you're jumping to a teammate that isn't actively in a fight or right next to an opponent, it will be completely invisible. It's a super useful ability for most weapons, especially in solo, makes it so that your jump doesn't get camped by bombs, and it allows you to jump to teammates without giving away their position. Our second ability for shoes is Object Shredder. This one's basically in the name. It increases your damage to non-player targets, such as HP specials like Crab Tank, Big Bubbler, or the Booyah Bomb Shield, some utility subs like Splash Wall or Sprinkler, and even some things like the Rainmaker Shield. Object Shredder is not a very common ability, and I've only seen it on backlines, but it seems to be good at what it does. And for our last primary only ability, we have Drop Roller. This ability lets you roll after a super jump or a recall after specials like Zipcaster or Inkjet. The roll is similar to a dualie's roll in the sense that you can choose in which direction you go, but it does not have any end lag and gives you 30 AP of run speed, swim speed, and ink resistance for about 3 seconds after your roll. So it really does the job if someone's trying to camp your jump or recall. Drop Roller isn't very common on most weapons since Stealth Jump is usually preferred, but you'll still see it on Zipcaster and Inkjet weapons. And that was an explanation for all the primary only abilities in Splatoon 3. I hope this helped if you were curious about any of these. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I really wish the game explained some of these abilities better because the way they're presented in the game often makes them sound pretty bad, but some of these are insanely good. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments which abilities you run on your gear and why. Don't forget to like and subscribe on your way out, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye.